Hi, everyone. I hope God's been blessing you today. Today is January 16th, 2023. And today I'm going to talk just about my eye condition and everything that God has taught me about it. If you did not see the video, which I believe was episode 2, where I talk about my eyes at the beginning, I will link that video in the description below. And the timestamp would be from the beginning up until about 2:20 time. But I'll do a quick recap in this video right now. So just to catch everyone up, my mother was told when I was probably 2 or 3 by my regular pediatrician that there was something wrong with my eyes. My mom had noticed that I was bumping into walls and bumping into people, and she brought me to the pediatrician, and he looked in my eyes and said that he saw something weird, and he wanted her to bring me to Boston to get my eyes checked by a specialist. So we started to go to Boston to get all these tests done. I don't remember any of this. I'm just going by what my mom told me. And according to my mother, probably around the age of 5, she was told that the eye condition I had is called retinitis pigmentosa, which is a hereditary disease, has to do with your chromosomes. I believe it's the X ones. Supposedly it has to do with my father's side. Even though I did some research on my father's side, and nobody's ever had this disease, and nobody's had it on my mom's side. So I'm not really sure if that's actually true. But anyway, I'm just going to go about what I know, and this is what she told me. So we had to keep going to Boston, Mass Eye and Ear, every year or 2 to get my eyes checked. And of course I hated it because I hated going to the doctors. And I'm going to say probably obviously, as far as I can remember back, it was about the age of 7. And I do remember going to Mass Eye and Ear when I was a kid. I hated getting my eyes checked because I just didn't like anything going near my eyes. I didn't like to put drops in my eyes. I didn't like the actual eye doctor. If I went to the eye doctor and they had to put drops in, the doctor, 3 nurses, my mom, everybody was holding me down in the chair because I just didn't like anything going in my eyes. Going back and forth to Mass Eye and Ear, pretty much, I think it was every 2 years, was annoying for me because it was a whole day process. We always had to have my uncle bring us. I remember my uncle would drive us there because my mom didn't like the highway and she wouldn't go on the train. And so my uncle would bring us, and it would be an all-day affair. I remember when I would go there, it would be so many people there. There was so many people, and when you would walk into this office, there were so many people that had eye patches on, that have an eye patch on one eye or the other eye. And as a kid, I'd be like, what the heck is going on? And so obviously, I ended up with the patches on because you go in to do all sorts of tests. Oh my gosh, my eyes were so many drops and so many tests, and just all these different types of tests where they would shine lights, really bright lights in your eyes. I'm young, and my mom thinks, that she needs to bring me all the time. So probably around when I was 9, that's when they told her, they explained more to her about my eyesight, that it was never going to get better, that it was going to eventually cause me to lose my eyesight altogether. But so this was the thing that they talked my mom into. So they had a research trial going for retinitis pigmentosa, and they asked my mom if I could be in it. So, of course, my mom's thinking, good, yeah, let's put her in there because whatever you guys can do to fix her eyes. So I end up in this trial, and at the time, when you were in the trial, like they would pay for all the expenses. So you didn't have to worry about having insurance or anything like that. So all the stuff was free. And of course, my mom was a single parent, so that probably was one of the key factors that got her to put me in the research program. Now, I've been in this trial for a while, and they start talking about I could be colorblind, and there was something else that they talked about when I was younger. This was before we moved, and they would do all these tests with the cards would have all these dots, and the dots would be a different color, but inside of it, it would be a number with different colors. So obviously, if you looked at it, if you're not colorblind, you're going to see, what the number is. So I remember specifically, they would constantly be doing those, like constantly flipping the cards, asking me, what number is it? What number is it? What number is it? And then I had to do, some tests where they would put, I would say it was kind of like a contact, but it was attached to like this really long cord, and the thing would go in my eye. I would keep my eye open, and then they were able to like stick things through the top of it where the cord was coming out. Did the thing go into my eye, keeping it open? I couldn't blink. Ugh, I hated all of the stuff. But anyway, we move away, and by now they've already told my mother, like, I'm gonna lose my eyesight before I'm 18 years old. I'm never going to get a license. I'll never be able to do things like everyone else. I won't be able to ride a bike, activities outside that had a ball, like basketball, baseball, football, anything. I couldn't, tennis, I couldn't, golf, I couldn't play anything. I couldn't be far away from her because I could lose my eyesight, at any moment. They weren't sure. So, of course, like I said in the other video, my mom was super hovery and very annoying, because I had an older brother and he was able to do whatever he wanted. And I was so young, I just didn't understand the whole thing. I mean, obviously, looking back now, I can understand why she was so freaked out. Let's move ahead. So now we moved to Tennessee, and like I said in my other video, like it's my mom's, married to my stepdad by now. They're not really talking about my eyes all that much. In junior high, stuff's going on. They're in work. They're not really like paying attention to my eyes, except for when we have to go to Mass Eye and Ear. Well, now we're in Tennessee, and I have to go to Mass. So we had to go every like 2 years. So my mom, we'd all drive up to go to Boston, and we would stay at my grandmother's house. Well, I don't know how old I was. Let's see, I think it was after 16 or so. They told my mom they were going to add vitamin A, I believe it was either vitamin A or vitamin E, to the research program. And I had to take in abundance, like I think it was like 10,000 ICUs or something like that, or whatever it's called, and of this vitamin. And it was going to help. It supposedly was supposed to stop my eyes in the tracks, like where they were, and hopefully my eyes would not get worse. They wouldn't get better, but they would never get worse. So my mom agreed. And at the beginning, I did take some of these pills, but now I'm like 18, and we've already moved back to Rhode Island, and I'm still going to Mass Eye and Ear every couple of years. I remember one time the doctor was very excited because he looked at my eyes and he was like, wow, they're not getting any worse. That's great. The vitamins are working. All along, I'm not taking these vitamins. Like, my mom thinks I'm taking them, but I'm not taking them. And I don't tell the doctor that I'm not taking them. I'm like, oh, that's great. But what I do know is my grandmother, who's extremely religious, is praying for me all the time. Like she's constantly praying that I don't lose my eyesight. And to be perfectly honest, I kind of didn't believe that I had this problem with my eyes because I didn't know any difference because I guess I was born with this. So I never, like, I didn't lose my eyesight. You know, I didn't have my eyesight, my whole complete eyesight, and then I lost some of it so I could see the difference. I never had that. I just never had it. So I didn't know what it was. I didn't know the difference. So I'm just going to skip ahead because there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to talk about in my next video where I took over after I graduated and everything. We had already moved back to Rhode Island. But right now, I just want to talk about my eyes. So I'm going to move ahead to, I had already gotten my license. So in Tennessee, I was 17 and I had stolen my mom's car. That's in the video, that's in the video description. And I already got my license because my mom wasn't going to let me get my license. And I never told my mom about that I got my license. So here I am back in Rhode Island. I have my license. My mom has no idea I have my license. I go to the registry in Rhode Island and I switch over my license to a Rhode Island license and I get my license. I take an eye test and I get my license. Yeah, so I'm living on my own with my kids and I want a car. So I start putting money away because at this time I'm only getting money from my husband who's in the Navy. And, you know, I only get paid once a month, so I don't have tons of money. So I start saving money and it takes me forever. I don't know. I think I probably saved for a year. And I found a place where you could like pay for the car while it was still at the dealership. And once it was paid, you could have it. So I went with my cousin and I started paying on this car. And I am pretty sure it was a light blue Chevy Cavalier. I was very excited about it. You know, after I finally pay it off, my cousin brings me to get the car. We drive down the street, probably not even 10 minutes from the place, and the car breaks down. And I'm freaking out. And I call my uncle, and he says, oh, the engine seized, which he brought me back to the dealership and told them that, you know, they need to give me another car. So they do. They give me another car. I think it was a Ford. I definitely wasn't happy about the car that I got because that's not the one I wanted, but whatever, it was still a car. So my uncle helps me. I get the car, I get it all registered and everything, and I bring it home. And it's in the parking lot. And one day, I forget where we were going, but one day my mom said we had to go somewhere. I can't remember where, but I was like, oh, I'll drive. And she was like, what? You're not driving? You know, you can't drive without a license. And I said, Mom, I have a license. I said, I have a car. We could take my car. And she's like, what do you mean you have a car? And I said, Mom, where have you been? Like, I have a car. So she was super pissed because, you know, according to what she believed, I was going to lose my eyesight at 18. Oh, by the way, I'm now 21 and I still have my eyesight. And I've been driving my car every time, like all the time. And my mom has no idea because she don't know what kind of car I have. And obviously I'm driving this car around when she's not around. She's at work and whatever. So I tell her, hey, let's go in my car. I have a car. And well, I show her my car and she's like, can't believe it. Then she wants to see my license and I show her. And it's a Rhode Island license. So she's like freaked out because she's like, how the hell did you get this license? And I said, Mom, I had my license since I've been in Tennessee. I had my license that whole time. I said, but you know, you were too busy with my stepdad. You didn't really, then everything that was going on there, you didn't know. I didn't tell you. And so, of course, she never wants to drive with me. So now I have a license. which I think is funny. I have a license and I have a car that's registered, and the state of Rhode Island gave me an eye test and I pass it to drive. So they think I'm capable to drive. Yet my mom, even though I have a license and a car, still will never drive with me. Always makes me drive with her. Years go by and I've gone back and forth to Mass Eye and Ear, and they still think I'm on those pills, which I'm not. My mom thinks I'm on the pills, but I'm not. And it gets to a point where my mom went with me one last time. They are like, at this time, when I went with my mom the last time, they said they couldn't believe it, but my eyes were getting better. And they wanted to know if I was willing to let other people, the researchers, come in. And so we did. And there was like 12 doctors that came in. They were all looked like residents or something, but they were all in there and everyone was taking a turn, looking at my eyes and, and turn off the lights and doing all these things. And they were all like talking to themselves in the corner. And then some would leave and some would come back. And then the doctor would come back and he's like, I can't, we don't know what to say. Like nobody in the research trial, their eyes have not gotten better. Like you're the only one. We can't figure it out. And I was like, oh, well, my grandmother prays for me. So maybe, her praying for me is making a difference. And they were like, oh no, that can't be it. And they want to up the vitamin that I'm on, but they tell my mom if they up it, I have to go every 6 months and get a blood test for my liver because it can affect my liver and make me go into liver failure. And so I don't think my mom understands that whole statement. So she says, okay. And they give us a new prescription. And this is the last time I bring my mother with me to Mass Eye and Ear. Now, if I go to Mass Eye and Ear, I'm going either. No, I didn't go by myself. I always had someone go with me, but now I go on the train. And I had gone with one of my friends the next time. And I'm going to say I was probably, I'll be like maybe 28 now. And yeah, maybe 28 when I go back. And because I'm almost 30. And, of course, I didn't lose my eyesight at 18. So they had to tell my mom that it was going to be 40 now, that I was going to lose my eyesight. So I'm 28, I believe, 28 or 29. And I go back with my boyfriend at the time. And we go on the train. And I tell my boyfriend, don't say anything. Let me do all the talking. I'm going to do all the tests or whatever, but when the doctor comes in, don't say anything because he knows I'm not taking those pills. And I'm in the process of thinking, like, should I tell these people I'm not taking these pills? But I want to see what they say about the results first. I go into the office where the doctor comes in and all the tests have been done. It's almost the end of the day, by like 3 p.m. And the doctor comes in and he is ecstatic. He's so happy. And he's telling me like, this is great. I need to know, will you sign some papers so I can do a research paper on this? I want to write a paper and I want to use you as, one of the people in it, participants, and how well you've done. And I said, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And he said, why? And I said, because like, what are you telling me about my eyes? And he was like, it's just like, your eyes are getting better and we can't figure it out, but it obviously is the medicine. And I said, okay, so my eyes are getting better. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. Now, mind you, I believe in God. And this is way before I have a relationship with God, but I believe in him because, I've grown up with my grandmother and she's constantly praying and I pray and I think the big thing is I never believed that I had it. I never believed I had this disease in my eyes. And so he's asking me again. He wants to go to the secretary and get the paperwork so I can sign it. And I just turn around and I looked at my boyfriend. I looked at the doctor and I said, yeah, I'm not signing anything. And FYI, I've never taken those pills. And I think you guys are quacks. And I'm never coming back. And I got up and I walked out. And I never went back to Mass Pioneer. So now that was, geez, I don't remember what year it was. But yeah, so it was about 2000 and 2002 that I tell these people they're crazy. I'm not, you're all a bunch of weirdos. I'm not coming back here. Because now I know that I haven't taken any of these pills. So I know they're lying. Like they have no idea what they're talking about. And I'm getting the feeling that it's all in my mind. And I don't want them to know that I figured this out. So I never go back. And I'm supposed to go to the regular eye doctor, like everyone else, every year, whatever, get checked up. But I kind of fall away from that for a while. I don't go, and finally, when I go back to the eye doctor, who I've gone to my whole life, someone in Rhode Island I've gone to my whole life. Like this is, someone I had, my regular, eye doctor. And he says, oh, you have, I think you have cataracts. And I was like, I have cataracts? Like, ain't I too young for that? And he's like, no, I think that's what you have. He goes, I'm going to send you to a cataract specialist and I'm going to have them check you out. So I go, and which is also in Rhode Island in the same town. And I go, and he's like, yeah, you do have cataracts on both your eyes. And I'm like, huh, that's weird. I said, is that why I can't see, like close up? It kind of looks like there's something there. And he's like, yeah, he's like, we're going to do surgery and, you'll be all set. And I was like, well, what kind of surgery? Like, am I going to be, under? Am I going under anesthesia or do I have to be awake? And he's like, well, I usually do it laser. People are awake. And by now, my grandmother had already had laser surgery and she was not sleeping. They had put that same stupid, weird thing in her eye that I used to have at Mass Pioneer, that thing that would hold it open. And they were using a laser to or do whatever they had to do with her awake. And I was like, absolutely not. I said, unless I can be put to sleep, I'm not having that operation, because I had explained how many people it takes to just put drops in my eyes. There was no way I was going to have a knife or a laser in my eyes. Not happening. And so he ended up saying, okay, let me find out if we can put you to sleep and we'll do it that way. You'll have to go to the hospital instead of in my office. And I said, I don't care. I'm not doing it awake. And so it ends up getting approved that I can do it under anesthesia, and I go get it done. And like within 6 weeks after, I'm like, I can't believe how good I can see, especially looking like really small. Like I was like, wow. But I did need reading glasses. Like, if it's really, really, really small, I can't see it. I have to have reading glasses. But other than that, I can see all over the place. I can see so far. I can see all over, right? And I'm super excited. Well, remember, I have a time stamp, 40 years old, I'm going to lose my eyesight. And so I'm in my 30s, and and I'm like, man, it's getting like so close to me losing my eyesight. I'm starting to freak out. So I start, my mom's like talking me into getting go and learn Braille and go and learn how you get the cane so you can walk and learn how to do that and all this stuff. And so of course, you know, in the back of my mind, I think because I know my mom loves me and stuff, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna probably do this stuff. So I do it. I get all these, I get these services and they start teaching me how to walk with the cane and everything. But I was embarrassed because I know that I can see. And I felt like I was pretending, and I could see people looking at me, giving me dirty looks. and, talking about me and stuff, which obviously if you're blind, you don't see that, so you don't really care. But because I could see and I had an attitude problem, I would, if I saw someone do that, I would just yell at them. I would be like, "Oh, what's your problem? Never seen someone that's trying to use a blind stick before?" And they kind of freak out because they were probably like, "How in the world did this girl see me?" Because they think I'm blind, and I just ended up telling this lady that was working with me, I don't want to do this. I don't believe that I'm going to lose my eyesight. So I don't want to do this. I'm not doing it. And she was like, "Oh, you really need to learn Braille." And I said, "No, I don't. I'm not doing any of that because I don't believe it." So for a long time, I never went back to the eye doctor. Never. I'm talking like years, years. A little bit after I had cataract surgery, so around 2003, my grandmother passed away. And, to be honest, I was such a mess then because we were so close. And I spent pretty much a lot of time with my grandmother. And at that time, I still believed in God. And, I knew my grandmother had been praying like every day for me not to lose my eyesight. And um, I knew for some reason I felt like, oh, okay, my grandmother is definitely in heaven and she's going to be like my guardian angel and she's going to make sure that I don't lose my eyesight. So I'm not even going to worry about my eyes anymore. It's weird because I thought that because I thought she was in heaven, there was going to be nothing wrong with my eyes. And so for years, I didn't really think about my eyes. I just kept doing whatever I was doing. And now I'm like, going into my 30s and I'm not thinking about my eyes at all. I'm pretty much driving to work and going to the doctors, doing all my errands, doing things that everyone else does. And I'm not giving my eye condition any thought. Like I'm not thinking about it at all. Not thinking about going to the doctor, the eye doctor, anything, and never ever wanted to go back to Boston. So I wasn't even going to the regular eye doctor because I had already had the cataract surgery and I could see perfectly fine. And I was like, well, there's no reason for me to go. And so I stopped going to the regular eye doctor too. But now it's getting closer to when I was going to be turning 40. And I start to think to myself, oh boy, okay, so, you know, like negative thoughts started to come into my mind, like, oh, what would I do if I did lose my eyesight? Like, how would I keep my job? How would I do all these things? And at that time I started dating my husband, my now husband, right before I turned 40. And to be honest, I was caught up with our lives and I was, just like, we were just doing regular things and living and working and taking care of the kids and doing all these things. So we really were not, I wasn't focused on my eyesight at all. I totally had forgotten about my eyesight and everything, which is kind of funny because I had already turned 40 and I still had my eyesight and didn't even think about it until one day I was like, hey, I'm like in my 40s and I still have my eyesight. And then I just was like, wow, that's so crazy that they really had me thinking, like the doctors had my mom convinced I was going to lose my eyesight my whole life. And then I was convinced that I was going to lose my eyesight. But then I kept talking myself out of being, no, that's not true. It's not real. It's not going to happen. But, closer to my 40s, that negative thought kept coming back into my mind, like, could it possibly happen? Um, but it's funny because I would push that negative thought out of my head, like right away. I'd be like, no, I don't believe it. I can see, like, it doesn't make any sense. And I didn't want to go back to the eye doctor, but, it's weird because now me and my husband, we've been married for a while and we started to study the Bible and we're like, we're married, have a married life together, and we're studying the Bible together, and well, that right there I'll elaborate on in another video about us studying the Bible. But just a little bit about that, like when we started studying the Bible, I started to find out a lot of information like that's in the Bible, like how we have authority in Christ, and we can use this authority, and we could use it for good. And I was like, what does that even mean? So I started like really researching the Bible and trying to find different aspects to what did that mean? What did this authority mean that we had? And so pretty much what I've, you know, come to learn is God never created diseases or illnesses. He created our bodies to live forever, to regenerate themselves. That's why our, blood regenerates. That's why our bones regenerate. That's why we could actually live forever if we didn't do anything wrong to our bodies, right? And so, depending on how you treat your body, what you put into your body, it could literally, we could live forever. That's probably why it says that he made us to live forever. Like it was supposed to be eternal. But the thing that causes us not to is death. Well, death in the Bible, it says death is the wages of sin. So if you're not sinning, then you don't have to worry about dying, really. So, but you have to know, what does God consider a sin? And then you have to go by, okay, let me see what he considers a sin. Now I have to make sure I'm not doing any of those things. And then the best thing that I learned, like when I was reading about the man at the pool in Jerusalem, but Jesus goes to this man who he knows he can't walk. He's infirm. He's been infirm for like 38 years. And he asks the man, like, do you want to be made well? And the man, starts talking to Jesus, and he's giving him like all these reasons why he can't get into the pool. There's other people that get in front of me and this and that. But Jesus says to him, I'm not looking for excuses. That's not what I asked you. Do you want to be made well? And the man said, yes. And then he says, rise, take up your bed and walk. And because that man had so much faith in the fact that he knew Jesus was going to heal him, he was able to get up and walk. To me, when I think about that, I'm like, wow. So really, if you believe that you could be made well and you could be healed, you can actually be healed, because actually it's all in our mind. It's our thoughts that keep us from believing. Really, if you think about it, it keeps us, we have fear and all that stuff. Well, if you don't have any fear and you actually believe completely that you could be healed, it can happen. So the thing that I think is awesome is in Proverbs 18:21, it says, life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. So I'm like reading this and I'm thinking, what does that even mean? Oh, all right. So life and death are in the power of the tongue. So whether I talk, so I can remember, probably when I'd say in my 30s, I had a lump in my breast, and I found out that, they did a biopsy and they were like, oh, it's cancer. And they were telling me, oh, I need to get, chemo and radiation. And I had went home and I was like, no, I don't believe it. I'm not having any of that stuff. And I literally kept saying, I don't believe it. I'm not going for radiation and chemo, and I'm not doing that stuff. I'll go for another mammogram in about 6 months. And by the time I went back, it was gone, completely gone, because I didn't believe it. And that's what I'm starting to realize. I've also done that with like a urinary tract infection. Like my doctor's like, oh, you got a urinary tract infection, we give you these antibiotics. And I'm like, no, I don't need those. It's going to go away. And I didn't take the medicine, and it ended up going away on its own. And I was thinking to myself, wow, this is crazy. Your body really can heal itself. And then the other thing that I think is crazy is my son, my younger son, hurt himself in a couple of accidents, and both times he really should have gone to the hospital. Like, they were pretty bad, but both times he said, nope, I'm not going to. My body is going to heal itself. And it did. It healed, and you can't even tell that he has anything in those areas. Like, if I wouldn't have seen it, I wouldn't believe that he had that kind of an accident. I'm hoping that I can get him to do an interview so he can explain to you the things that he's gone through. They're amazing. I also helped, one of my friends, like, she was having a lot of migraines and everything, and I kept telling her, let's really use this authority that we have in Christ and just keep telling, the devil, nope, we don't believe you. God didn't create all these diseases. Migraines are fake. I'm not going to take this medication. It's not going to come back. And it's been like probably a week or two, and she hasn't had, like, she might have a little headache, she said, but it goes away right away because she don't think about it. And I'm like, wow, this is so powerful. And so I guess what I'm trying to, like, really say about my eyes is, I'm wondering if it's really in my head. Like, have I been convinced by my mom that I have this eye condition, which she obviously was convinced by the doctors, but do the doctors even know? They sounded like a bunch of quacks. They had no idea. They kept telling my mom it was going to be here and there, and she could wake up with no eyes and no eyesight and this and that. No, it's going to be gone, at 18. Oh no, it's 30. Oh no, it's 40. They didn't know. They were guessing. They're not God. They have no idea what they're doing. They're just really, like, practicing medicine. They're practicing on us. That's what they're doing. And I don't believe that God didn't. I do believe God made our bodies perfect. What's the point? He made us to live forever. It's only, sin and everything that's causing us to die. So I don't know. I just have a feeling that during all my Bible studies and all the times I've, read these scriptures and meditated on things and prayed to God, I feel like I might be able to completely um, get rid of this whole eyesight condition. Like, I think that I could heal it completely. I think what has to happen is I have to let go completely of all the negative thinking about that I could possibly lose my eyesight. I think I need to get rid of that completely because I don't really believe it, but obviously there's something in me that makes me still hold on to, could it happen, like, is that little piece of you that's just like, I don't know. And so I think that if I could completely let that go, maybe I could get my eyesight completely back to normal, and that would be amazing. Like, I would love for that to happen because I have been able to heal my body. Well, it's not me healing it, it's, just the faith that I have is healing it. And I heard of faith healing before, but I didn't really understand what that meant. But now I'm starting to understand what it means. And so, anyway, I just thought that I would like to give you guys the just about my eyesight, because in the future, the more that I'm studying the Bible and the more that we start talking about, maybe my husband and my kids and, you guys, if you want to get on, my channel with me and have discussions about your life and what God's done for you or what you've seen, or, just, or even just talk, and want to get to know each other, and maybe I can encourage you, you can encourage me. And I think that it'd be pretty amazing if if I could heal, if it could be healed, like completely healed. If I go back to the eye doctor in Boston and they're like, holy crap, you don't even have anything, that would be amazing. I think I would tape that. I think I would bring a video and because I think I would know. I'm pretty sure I would know that it's all healed. And so anyway, I don't know. I sound crazy, but you know what? I mean, what Jesus says, we're gonna be made fun of if you actually believe him and go along with what he's saying. So I mean, I feel like I'm on the right track. That's all I want to talk about today. I will probably in other videos, I might mention some of this stuff, but this is the main thing. I wanted to just have a video just about my eyesight, so that way it could be, um, easy to get to if somebody wanted to look it back up eventually. I am also going to link in the description box the where I did talk about my eyesight, and I believe it was episode 2. So I'll put that in the description. And I hope you all have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next video.